It's been a big year in local news. Here's our list of the top 6 local news stories from 2019. 2019 kicked off with a double murder that spanned multiple states. On January 4th, Jenna Scott and Michael Swearingen were reported missing from Temple. 11 days later, their bodies were found in a rural part of Oklahoma. Scott's ex-boyfriend, Cedric Marks, was arrested in Michigan. He was transported to Texas, where he briefly escaped custody, only to be found hours later. He was charged with murder and is currently awaiting trial. Marks' reported girlfriend, Maya Maxwell, also faces charges in connection with the deaths. In September, Killeen rapper George Powell was released on bond after spending 10 years in prison for armed robbery. Powell's 2008 conviction was vacated due to prosecutorial error. He's always maintained his innocence and credits his fiancée Tamara Parsons and the Innocence Project of Texas for fighting for his release. Bell County District Attorney Henry Garza says he will retry the case, but no court dates have been set. This year, I-35 construction wrapped up in some areas only to start again in others. Temple saw the completion of a multi-year expansion effort, while 6 miles of interstate through Waco was torn up and a pedestrian bridge destroyed to make way for more expansion there. TxDOT says Waco's project is expected to take 5 years and will cost roughly $341 million. On a rainy day in October, Falls County Deputy Matt Jones and Riesel's Police Chief Danny Crumno were helping a stranded driver when they were hit by another car. Jones died at the scene. Crumno suffered multiple injuries and was in the hospital for almost a month before heading home the first week of November. In February, convicted killer Billy Wayne Coble was put to death for the 1985 killings of his estranged wife's brother and parents. During his execution, several of Coble's family members became violent and were kicked out, then arrested. Coble was the oldest inmate to be executed in state history and had been on death row for 3 decades. Finally, a March rock-throwing death had drivers on I-35 in a panic. Keila Flores, a 33-year-old mother of 3, was riding in the passenger seat of her boyfriend's car when a large rock crashed through the windshield. She died hours later at the hospital. Her boyfriend described the rock as being larger than a football. Temple police say they'd gotten reports of other debris being thrown from overpasses, but this was the first time it resulted in someone's death. So far, police haven't found the person responsible.
Sadly, mass shootings in Texas were not only state news, but were some of the biggest national stories of the year. 22 people were killed and dozens were injured in a mass shooting at a Walmart in El Paso in early August. Of the 22 dead, 1 was German, 13 Americans, 8 were Mexican citizens. This became the 3rd worst shooting in Texas history. Later in the month, 7 people were killed and 21 others were injured in a brazen daylight drive-by mass shooting in the West Texas cities of Midland and Odessa. The attack at the start of Labor Day weekend led to 3 law enforcement officers and a toddler being wounded. Police shot and killed the gunman, a man in his mid-30s, near a movie theater on the outskirts of Odessa. This year also marked the tragedy of Malia Davis. After going missing, Malia's remains were found in a trash bag along a highway in Arkansas on May 31st. Her death was ruled as due to homicidal violence by the Harris County coroner, and Darian Vence, the girl's stepfather, remains in jail, charged with tampering with a corpse and injury to a child and serious bodily injury. The Red Lake Road overpass on I-30 was renamed the Malia Davis Memorial Bridge. Amber Geiger, the former Dallas police officer who killed Botham Jean in his apartment last year, was found guilty and headed to prison to begin a 10-year sentence. In an incredible act of compassion, Botham's brother hugged Geiger after testifying and wished her well. Boeing claims that they have made significant progress over the past several months in support of safely returning the 737 MAX to service following 2 crashes, as the company continues to work with the FAA and other global regulators on the process of safety and reliability. The 2 tragic accidents, which killed all on board both flights, continues to weigh heavily on the entire flight industry. Boeing established a $100 million relief fund to meet family and community needs of those affected by the crashes. Many families feel that was a paltry amount for the loss of their loved ones. Next up, Jeffrey Epstein, a story that every media outlet in the nation and the world was talking about. The former teacher, who became a banker and financier, developed an elite social circle and procured many women, including underage girls, who were then sexually abused by Epstein and some of his contacts. Rumors about what happened on his island and private plane, as well as his friendships with Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew of the royal family, were abound. On August 10th, the 66-year-old hung himself at the Metropolitan Correctional Facility in New York, spurring many internet memes and even speculation that he was actually murdered to prevent him from talking. And that brings us to impeachment. Since the House of Representatives was sworn in back in January and the Democrats became the majority, many members have had their eye on impeaching the president. Following a whistleblower's account, they got their reason. And first we had an impeachment inquiry, and then formal articles were brought forward.
Article 1 is adopted.
After much debate that didn't seem to change Americans' minds from how they felt going in, the House, without any Republican support, voted to impeach the president. Now in January, there will be a trial in the Republican-held Senate on whether or not to remove the president from office.
Yeah, Chris, it's hard to break down all the military stories into just the top 6 because 2019 was a defining year. They brought stories that affected us and shaped us, from the Fort Hood housing crisis to new leadership taking the reins of 3 Corps. 2019 will be remembered for many different events that we won't soon forget.
So let's talk housing a little bit. Some of you may have heard that there's a housing issue at Fort Hood, and there is.
The housing issue at Fort Hood took center stage just after the first year. Pushback from soldiers and their families coming on strong as they voice their displeasure for something they say has been going on for years.
It's absolutely unacceptable that soldiers who are deployed have to be concerned about their housing situation back home.
Fort Hood leadership said they are concerned, opened a hotline, and promised to knock on all doors, find a solution, and fix it.
I heard he was not going to have any family here. I couldn't let him be buried that way.
Then in February, thousands of people said goodbye to a man they never met at an unaccompanied burial at the Central Texas State Veterans Cemetery in Killeen after news of the event circulated on social media.
No veteran should be ever left alone.
It was standing room only.
We want to say we love you all.
In March, we learned about the story of Larry Allison. The former Fort Hood chaplain was sick and homeless on the streets of Los Angeles without a diagnosis.
I keep giving him this hope that things are moving and that there's a lot of people that are working on it. But as the time goes on, the greater the fear gets.
His wife, Corey, said Larry has since been seen at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota and diagnosed with behavioral variant frontal dementia. The Allison family's case against the VA system continues today in an ongoing fight for Larry's health and well-being.
What a tremendous honor, and I'm so humbled just to be standing here today.
In April, Fort Hood's commanding General Paul Funk II, a man born and raised right here in Central Texas, was promoted to his 4th star and would leave the great place. Funk took over as the commanding general of the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command.
I stood on the shoulders of many, and I will continue to allow my shoulders to be stood on. I am committed to giving this Corps the leadership it requires.
Lieutenant General Pat White took over 3 Corps in June of this year.
I was concerned, and I could not.
November 2019 marked 10 years since a tragic shooting at Fort Hood that claimed the lives of 14 people, including an unborn child. The shooting, which remains the worst shooting in a military installation base, was remembered during a ceremony that saw most of the families return to honor their loved ones and those wounded November 5th, 2009. And throughout 2019, there were emotional goodbyes to Fort Hood soldiers.
I remember he pulled out 2 little plastic ladybugs and set them on the dash while he was driving.
James Johnston, Ryan Sartor, David Knadel, all of them killed in action while fighting for us.
Well, Chris, it was so hard to choose because so many teams across the area were just so good.
Let's start on April the 7th, at the day that will be remembered forever in the hearts of Baylor fans everywhere. Kim Mulkey and her Lady Bears captured the program's 3rd national title after knocking off Notre Dame 82-81 in a finish for the ages. Grad transfer Chloe Jackson will be forever etched in history as her layup with 3.9 seconds left helped Baylor fend off a courageous comeback by the Irish after losing Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year Lauren Cox with a knee injury. They ended the season 37-1, including a 29-game winning streak. Only UConn's Gino Auriemma and former Tennessee coach Pat Summitt have won more national titles than Kim Mulkey. A few weeks later, on April the 27th, it would be another Mulkey that would lead Baylor to a national championship. Felicia Mulkey helped lead Baylor's acrobatics and tumbling to their 5th consecutive NCAA national title over number 2 Oregon. Mulkey has now won 9 total national championships. On May 30th, number 1 Crawford won a thriller in Austin, rallying from a 4-run deficit as Mackie Dunbar became a legend, walking it off in the bottom of the 8th inning to beat number 2 Thorndale 8-7 to capture the program's 3rd state championship, their first since 2014. To the fall, where Matt Rule and his Baylor Bears pulled off one of the greatest seasons in program history. The Bears matched a school record for wins in a season. They played in their first ever Big 12 championship while earning a spot in the All-State Sugar Bowl against number 5 Georgia. The Mart Panthers won its 3rd straight state championship by defeating Hamlin 25-20. Rodrell Freeman was named Offensive Most Valuable Player, while Kadarian Campbell earned Defensive MVP honors. And La Vega's bid for back-to-back state titles was cut short by Carthage, who knocked off the defending state champs 42-28. Pirates finished the season 14-2. And Baylor's volleyball team had an historic year. They were ranked number 1 in the nation for the first time in program history. They made it all the way to the Final Four in Pittsburgh before falling to Wisconsin in the national semifinals. Ryan McGuire was named National Coach of the Year, while Yosiana Presley earned National Player of the Year.
Well, that puts a wrap to the 2019 season. Hopefully next year will bring more championships to Central Texas. Chris?
Hey there, everyone. It is no secret that 2019 has been a very busy year when it comes to trending topics.
And it's going to be hard to narrow it down to 6 viral moments, but we're going to do our best. Let's get started. Number 1, Game of Thrones was one of the most popular series of all time. So it was no surprise the finale was one of the most highly anticipated television events in history.
But when it was all said and done, not exactly everyone was satisfied with the ending. In fact, fans were so upset, more than 1 million of them signed a petition to redo the entire thing. Unfortunately for them, winter had come and gone.
Number 2, we see the viral challenges happen all the time. Well, this year, the bottle cap challenge took the internet by storm.
That's right. The whole goal is to do a roundhouse kick it completely off. Now everyone got involved. Celebrities like Jason Statham and John Mayer had millions of views on Twitter.
Number 3, Jeopardy James became a household name earlier this year as millions of people across the country were glued to their televisions waiting to see if anyone could take him down.
That's right. It was a ratings phenomenon. Eventually, a librarian from Chicago took his title after a historic 32-week run, but not before he gained millions of fans and amassed more than $2.7 million. Number 4, is it a bunny or is it a bird? That's the question all of Twitter was asking when this video was posted earlier this year.
The video has been viewed millions of times and caused a huge debate online, but scientists have confirmed it is in fact a bird. It's actually an African white-necked raven to be exact. So there you have it, case closed. Number 5, has any fast food chain caused the type of frenzy that Popeyes caused when they released their chicken sandwich this year?
People were waiting in line for hours. Fights broke out at the counter. It was trending all over the internet. It was all anyone was talking about. And then just like that, it was gone. Yeah, Popeye said they ran out of the chicken sandwich. Luckily, for hungry fans, it made a triumphant return just a few months later.
Finally, we've made it to number 6.
That's right. This year, the most unlikely duo ended up releasing one of the most popular songs of the decade.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
And that's a look at some of the biggest viral stories that happened in 2019.
We'll have to wait and see what the new year and the new decade have in store for us. From all of us here at Texas Today, happy holidays and here's to a great year.